Yo, what's going on? I am so messed up today. Getting a late start at it, so let's get to it. Car's in the shop. So I am rolling around in my mother's former car. My brother and I have not sold it yet. And another gloomy rainy day. And a new brand that I'm, well, not a new brand, but a new brand for me to share. Christopher Ward. I'm surprised it's taken me so long to do a Christopher Ward video, considering the important part that brand has played in my watch journey, or reinvigorating my watch journey. I loved watches when I was a kid. I didn't realize that until I started getting back into them as an adult. My very first watch was a Star Wars watch, C3PO and R2D2. I still have that watch. I should send that in for service. It needs a new crystal. It's mineral. It's a bit scratched up. I don't know. Maybe pass it on to the next generation. And then I believe it was a Casio digital watch, but the alarm played Dixie. And I've been trying to re-find that watch out there on eBay, and I can't find it. I loved that watch. And then I had one of those Casio scientific calculator watches, not the one from Back to the Future, but I bought this watch in high school thinking that I could use it during my calculus tests and stuff. It didn't work. Oh, before that, Casio DW5600, which I still have this. I still have the watch from the 7th grade to this day, and I don't think I've ever changed the battery, which would be insane if true, because that was a long time ago. I used to take that watch. It used to be my traveling watch and my snowboarding watch, and I just destroyed the resin. So I got a replacement. Resin, bezel, strap, everything for it. Tried to install it. The funny thing is that model was very nearly one of the first ones, non-Japanese one, or rather the one that was not for the Japanese domestic market, but the one that came over here first. And they don't sell the exact bezel, so I had a Dremel up in that bezel trying to carve out the corners so the module would fit, and I did basically a so-so job. That was years ago. Maybe I'll crack that back open and see about fixing it. And let's see, then it went dark for a while, and I drifted into the world of fashion watches. You know, inexpensive pieces from the mall or from Marshall's. Talking about, gosh, Kenneth Cole. There was a Nautilus, not the Nautilus, but a brand called Nautilus. I think they make cologne. I had one of those. I love that watch. And then when I was out in LA, I went to the downtown jewelry district with a friend of mine. She had a hookup. Her cousin knew people in the jewelry district or whatever, and she was looking to get a Tag Heuer. I went along with that. That was a bit of fun. That kind of opened my eyes a bit as to what's out there. And then one random evening, I'm on my couch, and I'm like, oh, you know what? Maybe I'll get a watch. And I wanted, at the time, something that looked like a Rolex Submariner. And so I started there, of all places. What a weird place to start. And I somehow stumbled on this Christopher Ward C60 Mark 1 Trident. C60 Trident Pro Mark 1. Mark 1 indicating this is the very first logo. This is the London logo. And by all accounts, my favorite of the logos. They've had 3. There was this one, the full Christopher Ward London. Then the second logo is the CHR Ward London. That was the logo that had just come out when I started discovering them. And now they have the new logo, which for me is a bit too sterile. of a type font. I know that's a petty thing, but I just don't like it. I mean, the irony, or not the irony, but the thing is, they're doing some of their best watchmaking now in terms of design and doing a little bit of in-house stuff. But the logo, except the logo that is just the plus sign and the negative relief of that, the absence of the plus sign, that logo's cool. But yeah, not a fan of the new logo. And we're back. Didn't want to record during that tunnel because one of my previous videos was pretty loud, and the road noise in this car is pretty bad. But picking up where I left off, found this brand and started looking for them. I ended up jumping in on an auction on not this model, but on the C7 Rapide, which is a quartz chronograph piece that is emulating a modern Tag Heuer Carrera, at least in its general design principle. I should have kept that watch. It had that watch is going to come up in another video about engraved watches, because the engraving on the back of that watch said "Forever Yours." Clearly not, but I regret selling it now because it was my very first C-Dub. It is a good watch. Then when I was hunting these were going for like $400, pretty much out of the UK only at the time. And I thought to myself, oh my gosh, I would never spend that much on a watch. Where did all the time go? Yeah, so I ended up getting one with a Genki bezel. I shouldn't say Genki, it was a weathered bezel. The bezel was charcoal, not black, but charcoal, which amounts to be a dark gray. And it was a little bit rough. She'd had a life. And bought it. And I loved that watch for a good long while. And then I went Richter. I went so deep into the brand. And it was Christopher Ward. That's all I was buying. And, you know, I still have their Pepsi GMT, which I could definitely sell for an insane amount of money now. And a couple other rare birds. I was in the forums, CW forums. I was in contact with the Christopher Ward back office, which was fun. Had made some friends there. And at the time, they were doing their very famous sales. Their nearly new sale, their gosh, they haven't run a sale like that in forever, but basically you get those watches for pretty much half off, and the problem was that people were chiefly only buying the watches on the sale. And they had a very interesting business model. They were one of the first, if not the first, internet sales only watch companies. Now this was before the advent of micro brands. And their model was simple. It costs us whatever they're going to charge for the watch, it's only a 2x markup. So if a watch cost them $300 to make, they would sell it for $900. They were very transparent. So it's 3 times the watch or whatever. And I found that neat. And their automatic movements are chiefly ETA or Sellita. And in the beginning, you never knew which one it was. The documentation would say, oh, this is either the ETA 2824-2 or Sellita 200. It could be one or the other. This watch is a nice watch. It's got a wave dial. Thank you, Omega. But the handset I really like. As I've grown in my watch buying, I realize I like watch hands. That's one of the main things that attracts me to the piece. This one is loosely called an onion hour hand, but the seconds hand, the counterbalance, is not a pitchfork, but what's the one that Neptune has? That's not a pitchfork, that's a, gosh, I can't think. I haven't had any coffee. But I'll put up the date for that thing. Maybe it'll come to me, which I thought was super neat. So here we have a watch that has some design principle around the Submariner. Par was on the interest of, as they say. And, you know, certainly a fraction of the price, although could have probably gotten a Submariner for $5K back then. That was like 2015-ish. Probably, maybe even 4,500, who knows. But I was not at that level yet. I was not at that tier. I'm still not at that tier. Certainly not what they're going for today. But I do have a Rolex buying strategy that I'm going to try out today. I'm going to a couple ADs. And here's my strategy. I have established rapport with a couple salespeople, did small things, strap here, repair here, basic stuff. I'm going to just indiscriminately ask for a watch that, hey, I'd like to buy such and such, with no caveat or allowance for the fact that it's not in stock, that it's high demand, etc. I'm just going to completely pretend that that doesn't exist. And this part has already been done. I've already covered that part via email. And in the same breath, I'm going to ask them if they do their own in-house engraving, or if they have to ship it to Rolex to have it engraved. Why? As a Christian man, I don't lie, and I'm not lying. I would like to have this watch engraved. 2021 was a big year for me, in the good ways and the bad. You know, lost my Aunt Mary. She makes an appearance in an upcoming video. Lost my mom. And, you know, started this little YouTube thing, this hobby of ours, yours and mine. And that's a year to commemorate with a special watch. And Rolex Explorer 1 36mm is the one I'm going to try and get. It's what I'm trying to get. It's still pricey. But I think that's a classic watch that I'd like to experience, and if there's any year to go big, it's this one. So I'm going to see if this little engraving thing plays out. Reason being, oh, if this customer is asking for engraving, clearly this guy isn't a flipper. So it takes down that flipper resistance wall, which I'm probably overthinking a bit. There's probably not much flipping happening in my town. But, you know, it doesn't address the other elephant in the room of, you know, buying history. I don't have a significant buying history, but if I can diffuse the flipper concern, and if I can continue building rapport, just being polite, friendly, that might be my vector to getting it, because I refuse to pay over list for this type of watch. I just don't. You know me, I buy used watches. Buying a new watch, the only reason I'm buying this new is because used ones cost more. So it's the only time.